too much further, and we'll be done with the gates as they were in the time of Nehemiah, the repairing of them. And then we'll move on from there. Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 28. From above the horse gate repaired the priest everyone over against his house. The horse gate, we talked a little bit about it last time I was here. I spoke about in a, I guess you say, not really lighthearted, but somewhat lighthearted way, about two Christians that were armed and dangerous going into a city. And everybody figured out quickly enough it was Paul and Silas. But what allowed them to go into that city and preach and reach people and then deal with the trial that would come of being tested by the men in the marketplace and then being tested in the prison. And I remember a preacher preached a message one time, the midnight hour, and I could probably just sit down for a few minutes and rethink that entire message through that he preached. That was probably between 10 to 15 years ago, but the truth of it was so needed about how we prepare ourselves. It plays a large part in how we go through troubles and trials, and why Paul and Silas was able to handle that was they were prepared to do the right things through it. Jesus spake a parable unto them that they to this end that men ought to always pray and faint not, or not faint. I think you could say it like this: if we did more praying, we'd probably do less fainting. And I think a lot of times the Bible is a good. You can go through and use the passages of Scripture as a good test to see where you're at concerning that doctrine. You go through and look at it and say, does that apply? Does this apply? Does that apply? Does this apply? Where do I stand on this? Where do I stand on that? Am I standing or am I falling? And you can kind of gauge what you need to do to change in your life. If we are fainting a lot, if we're struggling a lot, if our faith is not that it's failing in the sense that God is not honoring it or meeting it, but that we aren't following all the way through a situation from before, through in the beginning of it, through it, and out of it with the same faith that God will take care of it. We're fainting. It's probably because we're not spending enough time with God. Now, does that mean that's what I've heard is referred to as easy preaching, hard living? The preacher gets to stand up and preach it, but he still has to suffer through it. He still has to struggle through it. So I'm not claiming to be better than anyone else or anything, but that is why they were able to go through it, is they had the whole armor of God on. They didn't just go out partially. I wonder if we were to do the horse gate. It has its positive and its negatives, okay? When you study out the horse gate. The positives is it's a gate of victory. It is a gate of war, but it's a gate of victory. It's a gate where it's said that King David would look down from it, and kings would use that to look down and inspect the army as they went out of that. I don't know exactly if all that's 100% sure or not. You read some of the commentaries, you can tell they're not 100% sure either, whether it is or not. So whether it is or not, you figure that out. But I do think that the Lord does look down on us every day and look to see and probably says, you know what, he's not going to be prepared for this. He didn't put this piece of armor on. He's not going to be ready for that. Brother Williams and I we were eating lunch yesterday and we were talking about criticisms. And boy, people can quickly criticize you. They can criticize everything about you. Within 1 week, going from a couple prisons, I had people tell me everything you could about my preaching. It was that week was like everybody criticized something about my preaching. And then one person came up and it was just the Lord doing it. One wanted to lift it up. One wanted to tear it down. And one said, why have you changed? And I thought, why not just be who God made you? Not everybody's going to like everything you say or you preach. And if we think it's because of us, we're wrong. Samuel, I don't think many people would say that Samuel was not a good servant of God. And yet God had to remind him, they haven't rejected you, they've rejected me. I remember one time a preacher said, every message that is preached is needed for every person that hears it. If you're sitting under the sound of teaching or preaching, God has a purpose for you in it. It is to prepare you. He's looking down. He knows your beginning from your end. He knows exactly what you need at exactly that moment. And he brings exactly who he wants along to give you that. It's up to you whether you'll do what you're supposed to do with it or leave it and walk on. And I see that horse gate is the good is God cares enough to inspect his army as they go out. He loves us enough to prepare us. He gives us the whole armor of God. He's not broke. He can afford the whole thing. Spend time with him. Let him put the best armor on you. All right? That's the good. The bad is they were not supposed to heap themselves horses. They weren't supposed to do it. Look at Deuteronomy chapter 17. I could have given that to you and saved a little time, but while you're turning there, I'll read. In Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14, it says, when thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me. He already told them ahead of time, you're going to set a king over you. And they did. They set a king over them. They took a king and made him king. They took a man. They asked God for a man, and all of which were not God's man for them to begin with. God wanted to be their ultimate king. And then we know he brought David along afterwards. But in Deuteronomy, hang on. I will set a king over me, Deuteronomy chapter 14, the latter part of it, like as all the nations that are about me. And he says in verse 15, thou shalt in any wise set a king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose, one from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. I did find it interesting in the fact that so often, most countries have a law or rules that the leader has to be natural born from that country. Mm-hmm. There's a reason for it. They have the most likely. They're the most likely to desire the best for that nation and not try to corrupt that nation or allow another nation to come in and take rule over it, because they have a sense of national pride. They have a sense of love and patriotism. We're not to allow. We do this all the time as Christians. We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to allow other things to become first place in our life and king over us, but we do it all the time. From pride, from self-desire, self-will, we allow a lot of things to become king over us. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 16, but he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses, for so much as the Lord has said unto you. Ye shall not henceforth return no more that way. He didn't want them going back to the old way of doing things. He didn't want them relying on horses for that. They were to keep the horses minimal. Horses in the Bible speak of war. The king in the king of Israel was to ride on a donkey, on a lowly animal. It was supposed to be humble. It was supposed to be when they rode in. I mean, you see somebody riding on one of those little things. It kind of is almost. You don't look at it. You're not inspired to think, man, that he's going to be a bad dude. I'm going to. You look at it and you go, that little tiny animal. It was designed to not have the king. It was designed to humble the king and not have the king constantly look like he was a warrior. They were not supposed to be a warring people. If they went to war, it was supposed to be at the leadership of God. And most Christians today, they fight anything and everything that comes their way. They don't ever consult the Lord on it. They don't ever stop their mouth and think before they speak. They just go headlong into it, into battle. And then wonder why it makes it so hard to reach so many people. Now, I'm not talking about compromising on doctrine. God forbid, we shouldn't do that. But we ought to have a little discernment about us. The horse, though, as I said, it speaks of war. There is a though they were not supposed to heap to themselves the horses, they're not supposed to be like the world. They're not supposed to be constantly relying on the horse and implements of war for protection. They were supposed to be constantly relying on God for their protection. But there is a day where the King of Kings he rode in on the right animal. He'll come back on the right animal as well. Christ is coming back. He is coming back to judge and make war. And I'm glad that I'll not be on the wrong side of that approach. I'm glad I'll be behind him. I've only ever ridden a horse one time, and I learned two things in that. One, it's not as easy as it looks, and two, I really don't have a desire to do it. But that day, it won't be a problem. Those horses will be simple and easy to ride. You won't have to lead them. You won't have to guide them. They know exactly where they're going and exactly what they're doing. And we won't even be making any war at all. We'll do exactly what we're supposed to do. We'll get behind the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and we'll watch him march forward, and we'll watch the Word of God like a sword go out and slay all the enemy, and we'll watch God do exactly what He's been trying to get us to do all along. Let God be the one who fights our battles. I thank God that He does look down every day and He gives me exactly what we need. On the way in, I decided, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna listen to a particular preacher today for my personal devotion. I do my personal devotion in a couple different ways. But there's one man, God, that He's very faithful all the time. And so occasionally I'll use that as my morning devotion. And can I say this? Exactly what he preached on was exactly what I needed today. God knew exactly what I needed to prepare me for even some of the trials that came already this morning. God saw me get up. He saw me get prepared and said, you need this piece of armor today. God forbid that we should miss letting the Lord inspect us every day and arm us and prepare us for our days.